All right, time to talk Clemson football and catch up with the Tigers with Jason Priester from allclemson.com on SI. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, man?
Doing great. Got to remind everyone, smash that like button, hit the bell for the notifications when you subscribe. That way you know when we're going live, which is at some point each and every day. All right, Clemson produces a lot of NFL players. What's the next batch? Of course, Travis Etienne made that decision last year to come back, but of course he's going to move on to the next level. Trevor Lawrence as well. Of course, he's most likely the number one pick in the whole shebang. Who are those guys that have made the decision to come back, made the decision to move on to the NFL, and then are we waiting on anyone else?
It sounds like that outside of Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and Cornell Powell and Amari Rogers, pretty much everybody's going to be back. I know there's been no official announcement regarding Xavier Thomas, but by all indications are that he's going to be back. It's been confirmed the entire starting defense is going to be back. And I've left out Jackson Carman, offensive lineman. He's going to the NFL too, but so they're going to lose 4 or 5 guys on the offense and bring everybody else back. So it could have been a lot worse. You know, there's a lot of guys, James Skowski, Nolan Turner, taking advantage of that free year of eligibility and coming back next year. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I was going to say this is turning out to be a lot better than expected in terms of guys at a place like Clemson. You guys typically lose your batch of NFL seniors, but then usually have another 3 to 4 guys that declare early. And you knew Trevor was gone. Etienne, of course, had come up on that senior year and wasn't going to extend his career another year. So those were gimme. Jackson Carman, there was a decision to be made there, but still, you got to feel really good about all those guys coming back.
Yeah, I know most people assumed that Darion Kendrick was going to be gone, and he surprised some people when he announced he was coming back. I thought he was going to. I always thought he was a 3-year guy. And like I mentioned, Xavier Thomas, most assumed he would be a 3-year guy when he got to Clemson. Things just haven't panned out for him for one reason or another on the field. I think he can really help himself by coming back next year. And like I said, it seems like that's what he's going to do. But I read somewhere earlier today that on average, since Dabo Swinney's been there, he brings back an average of like 5.5 players on defense each year. This year, he's going to bring them all back. So it's not something that happens every year in Clemson.
Yeah, they seem to bring back more players than the average just major superpower. Like LSU loses a ton of guys early to the draft. Ohio State loses their share. Other teams across the board. Georgia's bringing back more than they expected as well. So maybe a lot of guys are thinking, hey, I didn't show too much on tape. I had less games played or something. And they're making that decision. Of course, they have the advantage here in the last, I don't know, it's been going on close to 10 years in which they get those reports back from the NFL to where they can make a more informed decision. Got Jason Priester on the line from SI's allclemson.com to break down the Tigers for us. Transfer portal. Has that sprung up and bit the Tigers at all?
The transfer portal has been a hot topic of conversation in this fan base the last couple of weeks. You know, they've got beaten by Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, you know, the last 2 years in the playoffs, all guys that were transfers. And Dabo Swinney's been adamant about, you know, not wanting to dip into that transfer portal. He likes developing high school guys and recruiting guys out of high school and develop them. Part of his sales pitch, I think, is selling those kids on the fact that he's not going to just go out and actively recruit the transfer portal for guys to just come in and take their spot. So it's been a hot topic of conversation in the fan base here of late. He did say back on early signing day that he reserves the right to change his stance on that in the future if he needs to, and that he could see himself using it to fill some needs or if he had somebody leave unexpectedly. But as far as guys entering the transfer portal, so far so good on that front. That don't mean it's going to remain that way. Like I said, there's a lot of guys coming back. So that could mean some of these young guys might look for playing time elsewhere. You never know these days.
So this is what I'm looking at, Jason. We got, of course, the 5-star DeMarcus Bowman going to Florida from Clemson, the running back. You got along the defensive line Jordan Williams, who left Clemson to go to Virginia Tech, and Niles Pinckney going to Minnesota along the D line as well from Clemson. So nothing that's that much of a surprise or a big loss there. Of course, Bowman's a huge prospect, but he hasn't done anything at this level yet.
Yeah, Bowman's a huge loss. He transferred way earlier in the season, but that's a big hit. He might be the most talented running back Dabo Swinney ever signed. I mean, you don't lose a player like that and it doesn't hurt, not feel it. They were planning on him being there next year and being a big part of the offense. I do like the two guys they brought in the 2020 recruiting class, but neither one of them are the talent that Bowman was. Far as Pinckney and Jordan Williams, both fifth-year seniors taking advantage of that 6 year from the NCAA. I just think with them, it's a matter of wanting to go somewhere and get more playing time. I think Clemson's going to be about 6 deep on the interior of the defensive line next year. And if those guys wanted to see more time on the field, they needed to go elsewhere.
Talking Clemson football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Smash that like button. Share these videos out on social media. So if you enjoy the videos, then I got to think that other people will as well. If they follow you on Twitter or are connected to you on a Facebook, they probably don't know we're here talking college football every day. So please let them know by sharing the videos and, of course, subscribe. All right. On the coaching staff, you're letting us know that not necessarily guys leaving or coming, but a bit of a shuffle to try to accomplish what? So I'm interested to hear about this.
Well, Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator, he's been the running back coach for Dabo Swinney for years. He's now going to coach tight ends and remain the offensive coordinator. Danny Pearman, who has been the tight ends coach and special teams coordinator, is going to move into an off-the-field role of some kind. He's going to do self-scouting and scout the transfer portal, supposedly. And C.J. Spiller is the new running backs coach. So I think that's a good move. That gives you a guy. He's going into the College Football Hall of Fame, a former first-round pick, out on the road recruiting these running backs whenever they can get back out on the road, anyways. But I think C.J. Spiller is going to be a home run hire for this staff. I think he can knock it out the park on the recruiting trail, and he's one of the guys that helped mold Travis Etienne, despite the fact he wasn't officially on the staff.
So your former tight ends coach is going to scout the transfer portal that you're not going to use.
That's the word. He is self-scouting and scouting the transfer portal, supposedly. I don't know really what he's going to do. But he's been there for years. They'll find him something to do. I had no doubt about that.
All right. We're talking Clemson football with Jason Priester. Join his work there at allclemson.com on SI. Another great haul in the 2021 class, National Signing Day. The second version, the one that used to be the traditional one, is, of course, the first Wednesday of February. So is there anybody else out there? Anything else that you expect to happen coming up in a couple weeks?
No, I think Clemson's done. I'd be surprised if they signed anybody else. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but it would surprise me. They did add Tristan Lee here a couple weeks back. He signed on early signing day, but kept it secret until his announcement on the day of the All-American Bowl, a 5-star offensive lineman. And with Jackson Carman moving on to the NFL, he's got a chance to break the 2 deep next year. He's that good.
You had a chance to look at 2022 at all?
Not a whole lot, and Clemson's they recruit slow anyways, and without having the way recruiting is with this dead period, they're slow. They're really slow playing a lot of guys. Like, for example, at quarterback, I think they've offered 2 quarterbacks in the whole class so far. I know Ty Simpson's one, and Braden Davis is the other one. So they've signed. I think they've got 3 commitments for the 22 class. I know 2 of them are offensive linemen. I forget off the top of my head what the other one was, but
yeah, that's what I'm looking at here, Jason. I'm looking at Colin Sadler. He's an offensive tackle out of Greenville. Then you got Adam Randall, Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, the wide receiver. And Blake Miller, the offensive lineman.
Blake Miller.
Yeah.
Still good enough to be 12th in the nation, number 2 in the ACC. And, of course, those numbers mean absolutely nothing at this
point. Those are two good offensive linemen they got commitments from, two really good ones. I like both of those guys. Good takes for the Tigers there.
Yeah, the offensive line, would you think that would be the major disappointment from this past season?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Dabo Sweeney raved about this offensive line coming out of camp, hyped them up to maybe be the best he's had yet, and they just were not that, especially in the run blocking game. The interior of that line was just not very good running the ball. They got some work to do in that area, and they do have an influx of talent coming. They've started to really recruit well along the offensive line in the last 2 or 3 recruiting cycles, and I think we're fixing to start seeing the results of that on the field starting next year.
Yeah, Travis Etienne, of course, a guy that had, coming into this past season, the highest average yards per carry figure in the history of college football for a guy that carried the ball as much as he did, over 8 yards per carry. And I haven't looked at the numbers to see what it was this year, but it wasn't anything close to that. Might not have been 5.
He was down. I want to say over 2 yards per carry this year compared to what he was last year. Yeah, he just had no room to run all season long. They had to get creative in ways of getting him the ball, get it to him out on the outside and in the passing game, and he just had nowhere to run.
From 7.8 to 5.4.
Yeah, I thought it was over 2 yards. I mean, and it wasn't against elite defenses that was shutting this running game down either. I mean, we talking about Syracuse, one of the worst run defenses in the country. I know they were when they played anyways, and they just shut Clemson's running game down. I mean, that's a team you got to line it up and run the ball down their throat, and Clemson just could not do that this year.
Good stuff from Jason Priester. Join him on allclemson.com, covering the Tigers, of course, throughout the offseason here as we get set for 2021. And, of course, an opener against Georgia. I got to think the Clemson fans are hyped up about that already.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game, man. Hopefully by, the end of August, 1st September next year, when college football season rolls back around, things are open back up and we can start filling these stadiums again, because that's going to be a big game, and it's going to be sad if you can't have a full house on hand when they play, man, because there's no other. I mean, that would be one of the best atmospheres in the country all of next season.
Jason, we appreciate you stopping by.
Anytime, man. Thanks, Mark.